Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, your co-host Shaq. We're going to be talking Bellator 192, Douglas Lima versus Rory MacDonald. And Shaq, this is the best welterweight title fight probably all year because, you know, Woodley's been putting everyone to sleep.
Let's put it this way. The best welterweight in the world's fighting on Paramount Network. Just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. But look, let's break down this whole card, start to finish, the main card. You know, it's not often we do a Bellator event, but in this situation we will. I'm going to give back to the fans because Bellator did deliver with a really good fight. It's interesting. They always make questionable decisions. In this case, Shaq, it wasn't the card that they put on. It was putting it on simultaneously to UFC 220 when Francis Ngannou was about to fight Stipe Miocic. But we already know the kind of questionable choices that Bellator is known for making, and it's not our job to talk about that. It's just our job to break down this card, and let's go ahead and do that because we got Aaron Pico. He's minus 720. The comeback on Shane Crutchen is plus 510. Now, Shaq, it's not often you see a 1-1 guy, a 500 fighter, as a minus 720 favorite over a 12-3 fighter. But there's a reason why. I mean, you know the deal here. They're bringing in this kid, Shane Crutchen, to lose. They want Aaron Pico to be their next superstar. And but never forget the time that school teacher knocked out and choked out Aaron Pico in under a minute. Have you forgotten about that, Shaq?
Yeah, I haven't forgotten about that. When he was like, how much of a favorite?
Minus 1,000?
Something like that. It was more than that, but it was ridiculous. And the kid's got 2 fights. Now the Shane Crutchen kid, it's not really about the fight. It's about the lead up to the fight. We know this is Bellator. We know the type of backstage moves they like to pull back behind the scenes. And it's a matter if he can deal with all the bullshit fight week that leads up into fighting Pico. Now, as far as the fight goes, I don't think Pico's shit. I mean, they're bringing in these guys off the local scene that will, take these dives for him. And most likely the Shane Crutchen kid will be. But if it's a real fight, then make no mistake about it, Crutchen can win. The kid's only got 2 fights. Granted,
2 losses.
I'm talking about
Pico, yeah.
Pico. The kid's only got 2 fights, so he's still in the developing stages of MMA. He's still learning how to react to certain things. He hasn't seen anything really, but he has been in there with 2 guys with a running record under big lights. So he's the more experienced guy in terms of Bellator, but in terms of fight experience, I mean, Crutchen has every experience advantage he could possibly have in this fight. So I will take Pico just because, they're bringing in the kid to get smashed on real quick, but don't be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, look, Crutchen, 2 of his 3 losses are against Gerald Mearshart, who's a UFC middleweight, and Luke Zacharich, who's a former UFC middleweight. But we know the deal here. He's being brought in to lose, so it's going to have to be a fluke like that school teacher knocking out Pico for Crutchen to win this fight, most likely. So I'm going to go with Pico just because we know the narrative here. You know the ref's got an earpiece in that fight, so yeah. But this one is going to be a real fight. We got Georgi Karakhanyan. He's minus 115. And Henry Corrales is minus 105. Now, Henry Corrales came through for us as a plus 180 dog versus Noad Lahat. But this is a big step up in competition against a guy in Georgi Karakhanyan who finished Lance Palmer, who's been in there with everyone. He's been in there with Emmanuel Sanchez. So you think Henry Corrales is going to make it 3 wins in a row here in Bellator?
When you say big step up in competition, I think it used to be, you know what I'm saying? I think the amount of damage that Georgie's been taking in these fights, when we talk about the Pat Curran fight, Pat Curran honestly took it easy on him and he still got his ass beat. And then the Emmanuel Sanchez fight where, he was trying to find ways out the fight and, he got his ass beat in that fight. Who did he just fight recently? Oh, yeah, the Daniel Pineda fight. I mean, Pineda was beating him in everything, especially the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu, and Georgie's a black belt. So, and like we said before Daniel Strauss fought Emmanuel Sanchez, you got to keep an eye out for Flav RX. It's called the Flav RX Fade. Georgie's one of these guys that's sponsored by Flav RX, and let's just say Penn Life is amazing. You know what I'm saying, bro? I mean, we can attest to that, and fighting Henry Corrales in the midst of Penn Life can be very dangerous because I'll tell you the type of guy Henry Corrales is. The guy's first 3 Bellator fights were Daniel Strauss, Emmanuel Sanchez, and Patricio Pitbull, the 3 best featherweights in Bellator. And, I mean, talk about tough road. Then, he gets an easy fight against Cody Bollinger, and then we cash him plus 180 against Noad, who, in my opinion, at this stage might be a tougher fight than Georgi. I mean, tell me the last time Georgi looked good against someone real. I guess the Bubba Jenkins fight, and we saw
You
that
said
kick.
Someone real.
Exactly, and we saw the kick that Bubba Jenkins.
You said someone real. The last time he looked good against someone real was Lance Palmer 100 years ago.
So, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Rick Glenn ended this guy. It hasn't been the same since. Granted, he's been able to pick up a couple wins here and there in little spots, but I think Corrales is on the way up. I think Georgi's on the way out. And I think Corrales is going to bludgeon him in an ugly war where there's going to be a lot of blood, and Corrales loves that type of shit because Corrales is fresh. Corrales is still on the upswing. Corrales still has aspirations as where Georgi's looking to fight for a couple bucks. Georgi knows he ain't going to be Bellator champ, and come on, I got Corrales here.
Yeah, I got Corrales as well here. When we talk about that Flavor X fade, people need to understand that smoking weed these days, you don't smoke anymore. Now you hit that vape pen, and this concentrated weed is some of the strongest shit you've ever had in your life. And look, it's one thing to be about that pen life when you're watching tape capping fights, but if you're about that pen life, you got that sponsorship. They're sending you all those cartridges, and you're supposed to fight a grown man inside of a cage, and you know that he ain't on that. Like, bro, it's got to slow you down, and it has slowed them down. I mean, we've seen Georgi Karakhanyan's last few fights. He's a complete shell of himself. We saw Daniel Strauss, who's also a Flavor X sponsored fighter, the way he's been looking in all these fights, man. It just ain't the same no more. You have to fade anyone that's got that Flavor X sponsorship. And look, Flavor X, if you want to hook us up, we ain't stepping inside that cage. We'll make the best use of it. But for the dudes that actually step inside it, yeah, I'm sure it'll help you heal. But it ain't just smoking weed no more, man. This is a different level. They smoke one hit and they're passed out on their couches, not showing up to training. You know what I'm saying, Shaq? So look, I think Georgi's gonna have a very lackadaisical performance here, just like he did against Pineda. People just look at the record, they see, oh, he beat Pineda by second round TKO. No, he fucking didn't. He got his ass kicked for 10 straight rounds, and Pineda, who's had a million fights, who has so much scar tissue, he happened to be bleeding a little bit, and the ref stopped it and called it a cut stoppage win for Georgi Karakhanyan, which we all know is the biggest bullshit that we've ever seen in our lives. And I think Corrales is one of these guys. He's a bruiser. He's a brawler, like a Neto BJJ. He just likes to come in there, have a nice Mexican fight with you. And if you're not there mentally to have a Mexican fight with a guy like Henry, and you hear the dog barking. Whenever the dog barks when we're talking about an underdog, that's when you know the dog is live as fuck. And if you try to have a Mexican brawl with a guy like Henry Corrales, you're in big trouble. I think Georgi slowed down such a big step that he's not going to be able to win this fight. He has to be able to lay on Corrales to win. We saw Corrales has a beautiful get-up game, nice butterfly sweep, nice underhook. He's going to get back up to his feet. I think he's going to win a decision here. I got Henry Corrales for the victory. Now, next up, we got a lightweight bout between the former champion, Michael Chandler, he's minus 290, and the comeback on Goiti Yamauchi is plus 245. Now, Goiti Yamauchi, man, he's very experienced. He's only 25 years old. He lost to Bubba Jenkins, but he's been killing dudes lately. You think he's going to finally put it all together and get the biggest win of his career against Michael Chandler?
Chandler's one of these guys that you heard me say in the past that, occasionally you need to have some action against him, because I felt like, in the Will Brooks stage of his career that he was taking a lot of damage in fights. Even in the Benson fight, he took a lot of damage. He gives up his back a lot. We saw in the Premise fight that his leg went out due to a low kick. I feel like that's not that surprising, because I feel like he's always been a guy that probably behind the scenes in the gym trained super hard, overtrains, and that's why you've seen him get hit by Will Brooks and not know where he's at. That's why you've seen him, take a lot of damage against Eddie or...
Real, sorry to interrupt. What's worse, losing to Will Brooks or losing to Bubba Jenkins?
And, when Goiti Yamauchi, the thing is, I feel like he has more of an excuse, because Goiti Yamauchi is only 23 years old.
Hey, the dog's barking, so Goiti is a live underdog.
And he's 23 years old, and I feel like he's made the improvements in his game as we saw in his last fight against Piccolotti. And Piccolotti was supposed to be, the future lightweight champion of Bellator. And Goiti put a quick end to that. And he obviously changed Piccolotti in the long haul, because Piccolotti, I heard, got his ass beat his last fight. And so, I think it's just a matter of Goiti can capitalize on the openings, because, look, we know the type of fighter Chandler is. Chandler comes out guns fucking blazing round one, and it's a lot to deal with. I'm not going to lie. Chandler first round is right up there with
Don't say Beneil.
It's up there with Beneil. I'll tell you, if him and Beneil, like, he can go head to head with Beneil in that first round.
Only in the first.
You know what I'm saying? So I think his first round game is fucking amazing. I mean, the guy fucking can crack. The thing is, generally after that first round, he's gassed out, and now he's eating unnecessary shots, and now he's getting his back taken. Generally, he's got the heart to prevail through those and scrape out decisions. But don't be shocked when guys capitalize on it. Like I said, I feel like he's a younger guy, but I feel like his body has taken a lot of damage and wear and tear over the years, and it's shown in his fights. But I think Chandler will scrape out a decision. He's only got one more fight on his contract after this. He's trying to fight Goiti. He's trying to get his title shot against Primus, and we'll see if he wins that. But then he's trying to come to the UFC and swim with the big boys. So we'll see what he's made of.
And man, if Chandler tries to come to the UFC and they give him a top 15 guy, he's going to get blown out the water. Let's put it this way. The motherfucker can't even beat Will Brooks. Not only can he not beat Will Brooks, he got finished by Will Brooks. He got hit by a punch and started reading the newspaper, man. So, I don't think Chandler's all that at all. I think he might have been back when he fought Alvarez the first time. And look, Goiti Yamauchi, I know he lost to Bubba Jenkins, but the kid's only 25 years old. And
3 or 4.
No, he's 25, I think, and I'll pizza bet you on that if you want. But based on our history, I know you don't want to take that bet. But listen, man, I know Brent Primus went out there, calf kicked Michael Chandler. People try to act like that was some kind of fluke. That wasn't no fucking fluke. If you ever been hit with a calf kick, you know that shit. It only takes 1 or 2 for you to not be able to be walking no more. And I can speak firsthand on that experience. Not to act like I'm some tough guy, but, I do get my ass kicked on a regular basis by real dudes. So those calf kicks are very, very serious. And who knows if his legs recovered. I know he wanted this fight because he thinks it's going to be an easy fight. But the thing is, Yamauchi's got some very heavy kicks. He's been evolving his style, and he takes your back. It could be a game, set, and match. I think this is the last fight on Chandler's contract, or the second to last fight on his contract, bottom line. And you know what, Shaq? Even though Chandler should totally come in here and scrape this, I'm going to go with the fucking upset. I'm going to go with Goiti Yamauchi. I think it's going to be a very sneaky upset. I think he kicks faster than Primus. I think he kicks harder than Primus. I think he knows that Chandler has a weakness to the calf kicks. I think he's going to capitalize. I think he's going to go in there, and I think he's going to beat Michael Chandler. And, Michael coming to the UFC, those plans are going to get ruined. So we'll see what really happens, though. You know what I'm saying? It's fun to talk, but we'll see what actually happens. But here it ain't fun to talk. Here I got a real prediction because we got Rory MacDonald. He's minus 230, and the champ Douglas Lima, the champ Shaq, is plus 190. They're disrespecting our boy like that. What do you think about that, Shaq?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, Douglas doesn't get a lot of respect. He was plus 170 against Lorenz Larkin, who was an habitual 500 fighter in the UFC. People thought Lorenz was going to steamroll him, and
he didn't steamroll shit.
And Douglas put that boy in his place quick. Even though Lorenz is still, a top fighter, Douglas went 5 rounds, proved that he can go 5 rounds and control the fight. And I mean, we've seen what's going on with Lorenz right now. He's on the verge of losing 3 in a row. Hopefully he beats Fernando.
Now I see why the UFC didn't want to offer him a big deal, because my boy Sean Shelby knows what's up.
Shelby knows when it's time, and he also let go of another guy fighting Douglas Lima, Rory MacDonald. They also chose not to resign Rory, and he can say whatever he wants. That he came to Bellator, but between you and me, they knew it was.
It's funny. Bellator's fucking him not too. He thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side, and it wasn't.
It ain't. You know what I'm saying? He can get sponsored by his cryptocurrency business and whatnot, and that's nice. But as far as the fight goes, I think Douglas Lima is possibly the best welterweight in the world, and I honestly can say that because I've always told you, between you and me, that I thought Andrei Korshkov was fucking top 5 welterweight in the world, even if he came to the UFC. And my boy Douglas, the first fight he was injured, but he showed in the rematch. I mean, you saw the type of fear that he put in Korshkov when those calf kicks landed, and I think it's not gonna be anything different. I feel like he does have the takedown defense to put fear in Rory early. The second that he sprawls on that first one or butterfly sweeps him, and Rory realizes that he's going to have to stand with this kid, and I think Douglas will win every single stand-up exchange. His jab's too powerful. His straight right's too powerful. His calf kicks. His left hook. He's been catching everyone with that left hook. He caught Andre. He caught Paul. He caught Lorenz. And I think Rory's going to be in big trouble. You know, everyone has a plan until they get hit. And I honestly think Douglas has been fighting the tougher competition recently. I mean, his last fight was against Paul Daly. Don't forget that Douglas schooled Paul Daly, dominated Paul Daly with ease, beat him on the feet, beat him on the mat. It was no problem for Douglas. So it's a matter of, you know, people on Rory think that he can consistently take Douglas down for 5 rounds. I don't think so. I think that Douglas is coming in the best shape of his life. I think that he's way bigger than Rory. I mean, the guy walks around at 210 pounds. And I think, like I said, he honestly might be the best welterweight on the planet. I think he's got that type of skills right now and potential for more. So I got Douglas Lima.
And I got Douglas Lima as well, man. You know, people often underestimate the force Douglas Lima brings to the table. When he lands on someone, people feel it. You don't just make Andrei Koreshkov limp to a kick. You don't just put the fear in Andrei Koreshkov's eyes. No one's ever done that. And he did that to Koreshkov twice. Now, people are going to say, but what? But Koreshkov beat him the first time. Yeah. You don't understand. Koreshkov fought like a, you know what I'm saying? He fought like a, he didn't fight like himself.
Like a cat.
He didn't fight like himself the first time. There was a reason. He wanted nothing to do with Douglas, but Douglas was injured. He couldn't do shit. But then they rematch, and you saw who the real champ was that time when he went out there and knocked him out. And prior to the knockout with that beautiful right uppercut left hook combo, which he also dropped Lorenz Larkin with, by the way, he was busting him up with those calf kicks. Andre was limping, and then you see a great striker like Lorenz, who, you know, just beat Neil Magny, just beat Jorge Masvidal, and Lorenz was never been the same ever since. Let's just put it that way, my man. So, you know, Rory, a couple of years back, he was talking about how in that Robbie Lawler fight, which, let me remind you, his one opportunity to become a world champion.
1 round away, 5 minutes away.
1 round away, apparently. Look, in my book, he was losing the fight.
But
according to the judges, he was up 3-1. And all he had to do was, you know, just run away that last round. He takes 1 punch to the nose, and, you know, you can say, oh, it was the accumulation, and it was the accumulation, but tougher guys would have stayed in there. And that's just the bottom line. He didn't really want that belt that bad, and now, you know, then he takes the Wonder Boy fight and gets completely owned for 5 rounds, and then he thinks the grass is going to be greener on the other side. So he gets a very favorable matchup in Daly. He fought him like a pussy. When Douglas Lima fought Daly, he stood up and banged with Lima. There's only 2 men that have successfully stood up and banged with Paul Daly: Nick Diaz and Douglas Lima. Rory had his sloppy ass single, and, you know, he took down Daly. Daly thought he was going to come out there and fight. Daly didn't know that he was, you know what I'm saying? But that's fine. But guess what? Douglas Lima's got a good butterfly sweep. If he does get taken down with that shitty ass single, I think he's going to get back up to his feet. Something that Paul Daly couldn't do. And on the feet, we're going to bust him up. When we land to his nose one time, when we break that nose, I don't know if you guys recall, but this is Rory's quote. This ain't my quote, Shaq. Rory said these exact words. When I get hit on my nose, my mind tells me I should go down. So you guys are telling me a minus 230 is a guy with the mentality that when he gets hit really hard, his fucking brain tells him that he should go down? Like you guys want to fuck with that? This guy's damaged goods. There's a reason Sean didn't re-sign him. There's a reason the UFC didn't want him no more, because they know that he's not going to be a fucking world champion.
Give 6 figures to this guy?
Yeah, we're going to raise this guy's pay? Okay, motherfucker, please. So now, take your fucking 50 sponsors, shut the fuck up, take your ass whooping, and then we'll see what you got. Now, then you can fight Fernando Gonzalez. Then you can fucking fight. Who's another?
Fight Andre.
Oh, man, if he fights Andre, bro, then he might got to go fight in Ryzen against, like, you know what I'm saying? Then you get a fixed fight in Ryzen. But I think there's going to be an ass whooping. I think Douglas is being completely disrespected. Plus 190 is a joke. How could you disrespect the champ like that? Look, if Rory comes out here, takes him down, keeps him down, grounds and pounds him, because that is the way that he'll win if he wins, then, oh my God, much respect. Tip my cap to the new champ. But
you're the best welterweight in the world.
Yeah.
You're the best welterweight.
Yeah, you're the best welterweight in the world because you beat fucking Woodley a million years ago. But look, man, I don't think he's holding down Douglas. I don't think he's gonna elbow Douglas into oblivion. I think he's gonna try to get that single leg. I think when he gets shuck and he starts eating a couple calf kicks, gets that nose broken, then he's gonna realize why why he wanted out of the first title fight he was in. So history will repeat itself. And still, the Bellator champion of the world, Douglas, the Phenom Lima, going to bring that belt back to ATL because motherfuckers say, Georgia teams can't win championships. Yeah, maybe Athens teams can't. Maybe the Falcons blow it sometimes. But we do have a champion, and his name is Douglas Lima, my friends. Now, main event of the evening, which we just talked about the main event, but as you know, Bellator is on that shit where they're putting a 3-round fight between 2 washed-up vets as their main event. So, Quentin Rampage Jackson's minus 165. The comeback on Chael Sonnen is plus 155, and I think we know the deal here. Either Chael's going to lay on him for 3, or Rampage is going to land the bigger shots, potentially put him out, or win a decision.
Yeah, man. I haven't even seen Rampage's last fight against King Mo, so I can't even really comment. This is a fight I want nothing to do with. I'm going to sit back, watch these 2 old, faded vets, 2 legends of the sport. Get it on, man. I think Rampage probably catches him with a punch. I mean, we saw his last fight against Vanderlei where he went out. But Vanderlei is such a jobber and old and can't get up from bottom. And Rampage can't either, honestly. So it's a 50-50 fight, man. I'm going to go with Rampage, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the fact that Rampage put on some size will be beneficial here because before for that King Mo fight, he put on size by eating a bunch of hot dogs. But for this fight, he put on size. I say he's been hitting that gym, man, because the dude's looking ripped as fuck. And I think he will have a nice base to stop those takedowns. I think Chael is coming in for that paycheck. And look, either Chael's going to lay on him for 3 like he did to Vanderlei, but you got to remember, Vanderlei was coming off like a goddamn 4-year layoff. I don't think he's going to be able to lay on Rampage like other people have in the past. I think he's going to get hit with some big shots. And, I got my boy Quentin Rampage Jackson on this one, man. So I'm going to go with Rampage. I'm not sure if it's a knockout or decision, though. And if Chael wins, it's going to be a very boring fight, and Bellator will realize why they made a huge mistake making that the main event over the real main event, Douglas versus Rory. But look, I'm going to go with my boy Rampage just because I don't think Chael want to be there anymore. And I don't think Chael is really a real fighter. I just think he's a dominant wrestler that was able to find a way to win fights, whereas Rampage is a fighter from the day he was born to the day he dies. So I'm going to go with Rampage Jackson. Now, Shaq, we got to talk about the fighter to watch and the fight to watch. So what is the fight to watch for Bellator 192?
I mean, the fight to watch, in my opinion, is Michael Chandler and Goiti Yamauchi. There's a lot of stakes riding on Chandler's career. He has to win these next 2 fights if he wants to be in the UFC. And Goiti Yamauchi could spoil the party. Goiti's young, improving constantly. Chandler leads a lot of openings. Chandler is also a fucking tank to handle in that first round. And that's my fight to watch. I want to see who goes down.
Yeah, great fight to watch. Look, my fight to watch is obvious. It's the ATL Championship. Douglas Lima versus Rory McDonald, man. I got to see Rory limping from those calf kicks. I got to see Rory get that nose broken for the millionth time. I got to see all this bullshit about, oh, now grass is greener on the other side, but now only 2 people want to sponsor him. Like, Benson Henderson was talking about how, oh, now he's going to get 50 sponsors, but then he's only making $10K to show him Bellator. So, these motherfuckers got to realize the hard way. I think Rory will realize the hard way, and that is my fight to watch, man. So, who is your fighter to watch for Bellator 192?
My fighter to watch is Douglas Lima. I mean, like I said, if he wins this fight, in my opinion, he is the best welterweight on planet Earth. I think that if he wins his fight, he beat a guy that beat Woodley, and I think that Andrei Koreshkov, his former opponent, is on that level as well. I think that if he wins his fight, he's an instant legend, he's an instant superstar, and I mean, maybe he might want to stick it to Bellator for taking him off the main event. I mean, come over to the UFC.
Yeah, speaking of which, I know my boy Manny Sanchez might be coming over soon. But look, Douglas ain't gonna put on a show about he doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck if he's the co or main event. I know Rory was in shock. I know that Rory thought he was getting red carpet treatment. Rory, no one gives a shit about you, man. And it's funny, all his little fucking fanboys are going to come at me. Now, that's fine. Come at me. What happened when he fought for the title the first time? He got hit in the nose and went down. So don't give me any bullshit. The dude ain't a future world champion. The dude ain't the next GSP like you motherfuckers. This is a guy that got dropped by Mike Guyman. I know he also beat Tyron Woodley. And I know we're having fun here talking shit. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. But Douglas Lima is the fighter to watch. I cannot wait to see the look in Rory's face when he gets hit with that first calf kick. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday, Bellator 192. I cannot fucking wait, man. They can follow you at MMA Genius 05. They can follow me at Best Fight Picks. If they want our plays, make sure you go to maxbetseason.com. Make sure you go to bestfightpicks.com. We got a max bet for UFC 220. Got a big play for UFC 220. And got a little something for Bellator cooked up too. So make sure you hit us up. Best Fight Picks, MMA Genius 05. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.